Alright guys, good morning. So today for this video, one thing I wanted to do was something that I get asked about often, and something that I'm very proud of is doing a gear inventory. So going over the gear that I own, that I've acquired over the years, and the gear that I use personally for tree work that makes my life and job easier. I'll talk a little bit about what the gear is, and I'll also explain how my mindset has shifted over time to basically trimming the fat off of what's necessary, what's not necessary, and why. So right now I'm gonna head over to the park and basically just take everything out and get everything set up, and one by one go over all the pieces of gear that I have. So if you're into that type of shit, stick around. Should be pretty cool. This is the layout of the back of my truck. Most of my gear that I use on a day-to-day basis, I keep in the back seat of my truck or in this blue container. This blue container, container with a blue lid, contains mostly rigging gear. Well, this is what they were intended for, and the one with the red top contains mostly climbing gear. They've gotten kind of intertwined and mixed up and stuff like that. Most of my climbing gear is now in the back seat, and this is almost entirely rigging gear. So that's the setup that I have. Obviously, cooler, one of the most important things, arguably the most important thing, which is my 201T that I love. It's got the West Coast Saws muffler modification, which is loud. So yeah, let's start out. First off, we have pretty much the most used piece of rigging gear that I have, other than the quarter wrap, which is 150 foot of Samson True Blue, 1/2 inch. I love this rope. It's extremely strong, incredibly versatile, and yeah, this is probably, I'd have to say, my go-to rigging rope. A lot of guys like to switch from 1/2 inch, they'll go up to like 5/8 and then 3/4 and so on for different pieces. Pretty much the only times that I ever break out anything bigger than this is when we're doing giant blocking, like huge pieces of wood blocking down. Other than that, like, this is taking huge, massive tops. This is rigged down massively heavy pieces of wood. I have extreme faith and confidence in this True Blue. I love it to death. One of my favorite ropes ever to exist. Moving on. All right, damn, this thing's so baked in the sun for so long, it's like brittle now. All right, so starting out, obviously, quarter wrap. This is I believe a Buckingham medium, and this has pretty much been all I've needed. So this has served me very well. I also have this little quarter wrap, which is like one of those little Amazon quarter wraps. This came with a set of gear that I bought off somebody off Facebook Marketplace. We have rigged off of it. I wouldn't trust it for bigger pieces. But basically what I, hold on, sorry, there's a truck going by. Basically what I thought this would be good for would be being up in the tree and like doing controlled speed lines where you have to drip pieces across from one tree to the other. I thought this would be a good little piece of gear for that. I haven't used it for that yet, but I've got it. And then we've got throw line. This line is very strong. I think it's Dyneema. I'm not sure, but it's very, very strong, which is important. All right, and this bag here, this bag contains, so I have, this is a tie-in point for a climber for crane work. I love it, actually. I got this off ARB session. This is just a standard rigging ring with a dead eye. When I bought this, I didn't know that it was going to be like 70 feet long, so I was going to cut it, but what I thought I would do is just keep it. And what we use it for is when we have a really big tree, like a big massive oak, we use this like kind of in the middle to do like a fishing pole, especially if it's like a big leaning oak, to kind of keep the rope in line, the rigging rope in line. Other than that, the purpose that I thought it would be good for, that we haven't used it for yet, would be like a massive oak redirect. So if you have a really big tree and that's the only tree you have to redirect off of, that's where this one comes in handy. So I have just a regular blue sling. I have several slings that I alternate the blocks from sling to sling depending on what purpose I'm using it for at that time. This is probably my most used ring. So this is the third one that I've had, this exact one. It's a 5/8, and the other two got left on job sites and ended up, I never got them back. So called the homeowner on one of them. They said their landscaper came and found it and took it, and then anyways, I just didn't want to chase them down, so I ended up having to buy another one, and then it happened again. So I bought this. Is the third one in the cycle, but I love this ring. This is probably like my most used ring, even though nowadays I really almost never even use rings and blocks. Over time, I've basically figured out ways to shave the fat off of doing a job, cutting out unnecessary things. So I know a lot of guys love to use blocks and rings, and I used to be that way. Now I just see it as just another piece of gear that I'm gonna have to go retrieve. If I can use natural crotches, I definitely would rather do that now. It just makes the job go by a lot faster. When you're doing production tree work, especially as a climber in Florida, speed is a big deal. Efficiency, being safe, not breaking things, that's a big deal too, but speed is definitely a huge factor. So you definitely, you know, when you're doing 5 jobs a day, you definitely don't want to have to be going back up and retrieving all this extra gear if you don't have to, if it's not necessary. If it is necessary, do it, but if not, don't. That's my way of thinking now. So here we have a CMI block. I believe this is a 5/8, yeah, 5/8 CMI block. This thing is extremely strong. It's been through a lot of stuff, even though it doesn't even look like it. It barely looks used, and it's been through a lot. On here we have, I believe this is a 12 or 13 foot dead-eye sling. And then in here I've just got 2 crane shackles. Put this stuff back up. Now I will say that I love gear, and I would love to have a massive amount of gear, but the gear that I have that I'm going to go over today, it's pretty much been good enough for every job I've ever done. So a lot of times guys that I'm working with have their own, companies that I'm with have their own, and so I get to use a variety of different types of gear sometimes, so it's not always dependent fully on my gear. But doing my own thing for my own company, this has all been more than good enough. All right, moving on in here. So I've got a pair of gloves for when a rope guy needs to let it run. This is a cheap Amazon knockoff flip line. Forget even why I got this, but basically I needed a flip line for bigger trees. So the flip lines that I have, they're good for, you know, small to medium sized trees. But when you get up into the bigger diameter trees, you know, you need something a little bit bigger. This is, I think, 16 or 20 foot, I'm not sure, but anyways, I don't really trust it. I don't like these kind, so I'll show you the other ones that I have, but I do have this one as a backup. Here I have, this is my old Tango Ivy line. After a bunch of cuts and shit happening to it, it's probably down to about 70 feet right now, maybe less. And but I use this as a tag line. This is a fantastic line for climbing. I love all the Ivy lines. I think probably the next rope that I get, and I'm like a rope fanatic, the next rope that I get is probably going to be like a Silver Ivy. I absolutely love this rope. But this is used as a tag line now. I rarely ever climb with that one. I have, but only when I feel like it. And here I've got several of these makeshift slings. So with these, this is a figure 8. You can attach a block to it, and you can go up and do, you know, like a cow hitch and use it as another rigging sling, a dead eye. And that's basically what the rest of this stuff. This is I use this as a stabilizer for crane work. I think it's like 20 feet, 5/8 serious bull rope. And basically this goes into the hook, and then you just use this as a stabilizer. I like using it for that. What it was actually intended for was a spare porter wrap sling. So for bigger trees that my regular porter wrap sling wouldn't fit around, that's why I had this. This is a piece of hyperclimb that broke off when we were trying to pull a satellite dish out of the ground, and it was attached to concrete with a full size. It snapped the end off of my hyperclimb, which kind of put a bad taste in my mouth as far as the hyperclimb is concerned, because I did not think that was a lot of pull force, and the rope just snapped just like that. So definitely didn't instill a lot of confidence in me. I really like the construction of this rope. It reminds me a lot of the Ivy lines, and like Blue Moon runs great in the zigzag, unlike the Blue Moon for me. And but it is thin. It does have a very thin feeling construction, and some guys love that. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really like the super thick ropes, and I don't like the super thin ones. But anyway, I don't even know why I kept this. I think I had intended to use it maybe as like an extra saw lanyard if I needed one. Just got more slings in here, dead eyes. This is a, I think, 20-foot Tynex Tech porter wrap sling. That was my original one. Down here I have, okay, I'll just go ahead and pull it out. So I have probably 100 foot of Adrenaline, which is definitely not my favorite rope ever. So it stays in the bottom. It doesn't have a spliced eye on the end. This is really just a spare rope, extra tag line. It's just there, I guess, taking up space for no reason. I do have an extra bar for the 201 if I need it. This bag, one of my favorite ropes for a long time. I actually did the splice on the end of this one. Is the Samson Vortex 12.7 millimeter. I did that splice. I'm very proud of that. Climbed a bunch of times on it. It's fine. But this is an absolutely fantastic rope, very easy to splice, excellent feel in the hand. My only gripe with this is that it's a bit too thick, just a bit. Oh, well, like I like the thickness. So like running in the zigzag, I really like the fact that with this rope, when you hit like a branch hits the zigzag, you don't go flying down 5 feet in a split second. You can tie off single or stationary rope technique with the zigzag if you need a balance point and stuff like that, and it'll hold even without a chicane. I really like that. I really love this rope. The thing that kind of turned me off to it and made me end up switching was doing crane work and having this hanging on the side of my saddle, it's just heavy. It's just very heavy. The 12.7s are very heavy. But overall, I give this rope like an 8 to 9 out of 10. I really love this rope. This rope bag I got from Westbur. So I love Westbur's rope bags. All right, let me put all this stuff away and then we'll move on to the container with the red lid. Okay, in this bucket here, this is another Vortex. This was the original one that I had. It got burned up pretty bad rigging with it. This doesn't have a spliced eye anymore, and I just keep it as an extra tag line or an extra rigging line. These have a really high break strength. The only thing is you kind of have to use it with blocks and pulleys because of the rope construction. It doesn't do well in natural crotch. It will burn up and turn stiff. So that's what happened. There's a portion of it that's beat up. The rope itself is beat up pretty bad. So anyways, that just stays in this bucket. In the yellow container, I have tools. So stuff to change the tire, stuff to fix things on the dingo, just regular standard tools, nothing crazy, nothing worth getting out and mentioning. All right, so container with the red lid. And here we have, not sure what this is, couple straps, extra scrunches, and a battery tender, I believe. All right, we've got 150 foot of Blue Moon with a spliced eye. I have to say, like, I actually am kind of disappointed in this rope, and I'll explain why. This rope does excellent with the Unisender and the Rope Runner for SRT, but it slips in the zigzag, and my zigzag doesn't slip with the Hyperclimb, which is very much a thinner rope than this. And so I'm not sure what it is about this rope's construction. I'm pretty sure that even Zigzag or Yale says that this rope is not compatible with the Zigzag. So if it was compatible with the Zigzag, this would probably be my favorite rope, but it's not, so it's not. And it basically, it doesn't get used that often, only when I do SRT work. And I keep this on the Unisender. I put the Unisender on this. That combination is really good. I do like those two together. Overall, I'd give the Blue Moon a 7 out of 10, but I definitely don't worship it like a lot of people do. All right, so in this bag here, I have 200 feet of Sterling Kraken. This is an incredibly strong rigging rope. Ask anybody that rigs with this rope, they're gonna tell you the same thing. This isn't, for its size, power to weight ratio is incredible. This is a very awesome rope. My biggest drawback to this rope is the weight. It is extremely heavy. It wears you out when you have to redirect and when you're rigging with it. So my personal preference for ropes is the Samson stable braid for rigging. I think that they can't be beat, really. They're like, this is a 9/16, so my friend has the 9/16 in stable braid, and it is much lighter, a much lighter hand feel. Still incredibly strong, very strong, but it's just not as heavy. It's not as bulky and, you know, kind of arduous to work with as this rope. But overall, this for rigging, it's hard to beat the Kraken. I'd say probably a 9 out of 10 for this rope. Actually, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 just because the stable braid deserves a 9 out of 10. Speaking of stable braid, in this bag here, I have 200 feet of almost never used Samson stable braid, 5/8. This is the king of rigging ropes to me. I have never needed anything bigger than this. So I'm in Florida too. We do massive oaks, and you can tell that this rope, and even this rope, is barely used. I really rig a lot with the 1/2 inch True Blue. I only bring these ropes out when absolutely necessary. They're bulky, they're heavy, they definitely are capable of doing the job, and they're workhorses, but if they're not absolutely necessary, and you know, like if I'm doing if there's a house underneath me and I have to block down significant size wood, obviously I'm gonna go to one of these. But for day-to-day operations, the True Blue pretty much is the go-to the go-to rope. That's what I use the most. So anyways, these are here, but they almost never get used. I almost never bring them out. Where I also know climbers that won't rig with anything but these. You know, I know one climber specifically, this 5/8 stable braid is all he uses for all his work. Like, good on him. I personally feel like you have to be like some type of a Spartan to be requesting to use this or willingly using this every single day. So in this I have, I think these are chain, yeah, extra chain. There they are. Damn, I was wondering, I knew I had some extra 2-in-1 chain. Obviously I should have looked in the chain box. So this is where I keep extra chains. I have a blue and a red. The blue is supposed to be for new, and the red is supposed to be for old used ones that I want to sharpen, but they get mixed up. So here I've got, back when I had steel climbers, I had Klein steel climbers. These were the shin cut pads. I really like these. They had the steel insert that keeps the shank at the right angle. These are made by Weaver, I believe. And then in this bag here, I have, these are just odds and ends things. Like I've got extra straps, extra rope for a rope bridge if I absolutely needed it, walkie-talkies that never get used. So yeah, that's just like little odds and ends things. And same thing with this bag. I don't even know why I have 2 bags. I've got a couple extra speed line straps and a couple rings, a little pulley. Yeah, just odds and ends things. I do have this thing. When I first bought this, I thought this was the coolest thing since sliced bread, but I never use it. So I basically just use twigs up in the tree when I need to pull the rope into me or whatever. But this is a great concept though. I really do like this. I forgot I even had it. Let me put this stuff away and then we'll move on to my favorite part, the day-to-day climbing gear. These are the Gecko 2.0 aluminum climbers. These are my everyday climbers. I really like these. Obviously upgrading from the steel Kleins that I had. These are, you know, head and shoulders above those. But at the same time, I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed in the I guess you could say the width of the padding, because I feel like this, you know, fiberglass plate eats into my shins a lot. So a lot more than I thought that it would. Maybe if anybody has any suggestions, if I can adjust that up and down, what would make it easier on my shins. But yeah, for long periods of time standing on these, they hurt. So I'm actually thinking about, for my next pair, maybe going with like Buckingham titaniums with the big buck pads. Maybe the distals. I've heard good things about the distals. I really like the old Geckos, which I have a pair in here that I bought. It was like a grouping of gear that I bought off Marketplace. They came with it. They were in extremely bad shape. They look like they got rescued off the Titanic or some shit. But I like the old Gecko aluminum ultralight style with the red cuffs. I don't know why they switched to kind of like this weird, like almost L-shaped design, but the old red cuff Geckos had like a U shape, and to me were much more comfortable. I've worn them like other people's pairs and shit like that. I really like them. But if you look online and you try to buy those old red cuffs with the pads, the cuffs by themselves are like $339. So, you know, I think that's a little bit extreme considering that you could get a brand new pair of Gecko 2.0 aluminums for like 500 bucks. All right, moving on. I'm gonna go ahead and bring my saddle over here just so I can hang it up and show you guys a little bit better, hopefully. Okay, so here is the saddle that I use every day. This is a Monkey Beaver original OG. Absolutely top of the line saddle to me. If I was gonna buy some type of gear, especially a saddle, and I'm looking at like Petzls, and you know, you got the Notch Sentinel, the Tree Motion, stuff like that, I look at them as like big box stores, and I might be wrong, but to me, the gentleman that builds these saddles is a climber. He's a family man. He's a good man. He has, you know, at least what he presents online, I don't know him personally, but you know, he seems to be a family man. He does good work. He works with integrity. He's a good role model in the tree business. And so when I bought the Monkey Beaver saddle, it was for obviously more reasons than just comfort in the tree. But for that reason specifically, for comfort in the tree, I personally do not think that this saddle can be beat. I mean, it feels like you're in a lazy boy climber up there, or lazy boy recliner, excuse me. So anyways, going over what I have on my saddle is I run a double bridge. I just recently started running a double bridge. I used to run a double bridge, and then I went to a single, and now I'm back to a double. So I saw somebody do this, like the kind of Tree Motion style with the double bridge, and I liked it. I wanted to try it, and so far so good. Like, I really like it. This allows me to not only clip into both. I have this pulley, this DMM pulley on here, but I can clip into both for like the unisender, for the hitch climber, for climbing devices that don't already have a pulley. This is good for that. For the zigzag, I basically just clip straight into the bridge, and then I also have the ability to use both independently of each other. So to me, the double bridge, and it adds a little bit of extra friction when you're like in the tree in these awkward positions. I really like that. Moving around to the designated D-rings, I know it's a lot of stuff to keep on your saddle. It's pretty heavy, but I like to keep several straps. These are versatile. I really like these straps. You can use them as a redirect. You can use them to rig off of. I mean, there's so many ways to use these straps in the tree. I would recommend everybody at least keep 2 on their saddle at any given time. This one has a steel carabiner on it. This one has just regular aluminum. Same with this one. This is I forgot, this is a loop runner of some sort, of blue water, I think. These are pretty strong too. I've seen what happens when they get worn out, some bleached, and I know they're not as strong, but I don't necessarily none of these get used as main life support unless I'm on a spar that we're about to drop. And I'm DRT and I have no way of SRTing down. So I also keep a chicane sometimes on here, because the climbing system that I use the most has a zigzag. So I keep the chicane on here. I've got 2 spare carabiners. That varies from time to time. I'll have 2 or 3. Got a little micro pulley on here. Obviously, any climber that does tree work is going to know how many different uses you can use this for. On the back here, I have a Petzl Caratool Large. This is where I clip my gear at, around behind me, out of the way. I actually shaved as best as I could this tooth down so that the stuff doesn't get clipped on here. I have the same Caratool here, just in a smaller version. That's on my left hand side. I use that for gear. Here I've got, this is for when I'm using a friction saver, which I rarely do anymore, but I have this on here to retrieve it, and I use that with this accessory carabiner. One of my favorite aspects of this saddle, and why I'll probably always buy this saddle and use this same setup every single time I have to renew, is because I bought this Edelrid pouch and I put it on here, and I didn't know how it was gonna do or whatever, but I can't imagine my life without it now. So this holds, I'm a cigarette smoker. Unfortunately, I know I don't need lectures. I know it's bad. I'm trying to quit. But this holds my cigarettes. This holds my phone. I can put a drink in here. If I want to separate them, I don't want my drink to get my phone wet or my cigarettes wet, I put the drink in here and the cigarettes in here. So this is an extremely versatile pouch. Stuff doesn't fall out very easily, and it's just zip tied on here. So there's probably better options if anyone has a better setup for how they keep stuff, like, you know, just day-to-day stuff on here. I have a little, I would be interested in seeing it. I have a little airborne container here. This is where I keep ibuprofen and Tylenol. Obviously I'm a tree climber, so that stuff is important. On my right hand side I have the Camp Kilo, my favorite saw clip. In fact, I'm probably gonna buy a few more of these and just put them around where the other Kara tools are. I really like this gear, or like this clip. It's good for gear too because it doesn't have the little tooth right here that catches. It's very strong. You know, I hang a 661 off here and it does just fine. This is my absolute favorite saw lanyard. This is the recoil standard. You know, this stays out of the way so it doesn't get cut. It's strong. I don't know why. I just, you know, I've been through a lot of lanyards and this is my absolute favorite. I can't exactly put my finger on why, other than the fact that it's a lot smaller than like the orange lanyards, and it just stays out of the way. I just really like it. So I have that on here with the regular carabiner. This clips into the saw and the saw gets clipped onto my Kilo here. As far as the saddle goes, I guess that's about it. I don't think I'm missing anything. Okay, moving on to my everyday go-to climbing system. I have, this here is a rope lanyard that I made out of, I guess this is poison ivy. This is a strip of poison ivy, and I made this lanyard out of it, this rope lanyard. I'm not exactly sure how many feet it is. It's just enough. I'm never satisfied with the lengths of my lanyards. They're either too long or too short. I can't find somewhere right in the middle that I like. But I have this aluminum clip here on the end and a regular climb right rope grab here, and it seems to do just fine. Obviously, if anybody knows about poison ivy, they know that this is, you know, a highly sought after rope that is not in production anymore. So I'm very thankful that I have this. It does remind me a little bit of the like 2014 era tachyon. So I'm not exactly sure if this even is poison ivy, but as far as rope bridges is concerned, it's 11.7 millimeters and it does the job. I use it very often. So here I have my zigzag. There, you know, I've got this Edelrid where it stays in this position. I really like this carabiner. And then I've got a black Petzl OK carabiner. The rope that I use is an 11.8 millimeter Mardi Gras. This is an awesome rope. The only thing that I can say about this rope that I don't like is how stiff it is. I'm hoping that as time goes on and it breaks in, I've only had it now for about 3 months, but as time goes on and it breaks in, I'm hoping that it gets a little bit softer. There is an area of this rope that got burnt, too much friction, and it's kind of stiff now. So other than the stiffness though, like as far as, it's not too heavy, I feel like it's just the right thickness. It's incredibly strong and secure. I give this rope 8.5 out of 10 for sure. I would buy it again, but I don't think they make it anymore. It's hard to find, especially with the spliced eye. So I've got 150 foot of it. That's what I mainly go to. As much as I want to climb on other systems, it seems that when I reach into the truck, this is the one that I grab. So I use this one the most right now, as of today. Moving on, we have the hyper climb. So the hyper climb I used to run in the zigzag. I find that it's a little bit too slim. You know, I've had twigs hit the zigzag and it shoots me down like 5 feet. So on this one, I've got the Hitch Climber Eccentric. This is, I believe, 8 millimeter ocean polyester, and this is what I run on the hyper climb. I don't use this rope as much anymore. Like I said, when I saw it break that day, like with almost little to no pressure, whether it got caught on something sharp or not, it just definitely didn't instill a lot of confidence in me. But I really love the way the rope feels. You know, like this is an amazing rope. I think if they would do this exact rope in 11.8, that'd be the rope that I stick with forever. So I really do enjoy this rope. I would give it a 7 out of 10 and definitely buy it again. I just don't use it very often. moving on. So I like to have separate bags for separate things so that I can just grab and go at any given time. So in this bag here, I have just this was just a length of rope that I bought from our obsession. I wanted to see what the Scandier felt like. I figured it was going to be pretty close to like the Ecstatic and the Adrenaline, just because it's like a 48 strand. And I don't like those higher strand ropes. To me, they feel like sandpaper almost, like they're very, it's like shark skin. It's pretty thin too. It does not do well on the zigzag in my experience. Maybe my zigzag is just worn out. But yeah, the Scandier is, I would say it's a great rope for SRT. If you use the Unicenter a lot, this would be a great choice. And if you don't mind the burn on your hands. But yeah, so that's just a regular rope flip line lanyard. It's not very long either, so it's pretty much only good for like palms and small diameter trees. Now here, I know I'm gonna get a lot of slack for this. So I've got the Unicenter on, I believe this is Yale XTC16 Fire. I only have the Unicenter on here because I wanted to test it out on the thicker gauge ropes. I do think that it's very good on this rope, but it is a little bit too stiff. Like it doesn't want to move as much as I'd like it to. So what I'm going to end up doing is, next time I have a situation where I have the stationary rope technique, I'm going to just take the Unicenter off and put it back on the zigzag, or on the Blue Moon. If anyone wants to explain to me why SRT is better than DRT, because I don't believe that it is. Maybe I just don't do it often enough. But like, as far as climbing straight up the tree, being able to walk up the rope rather than spike up the tree and have to go around all the limbs, I think that that's great. But every time you tie in with stationary rope technique, unless you do a long length of line to be able to retrieve it from the ground, which therein lies its own set of problems, because you go over different limbs and then, you know, it's harder to pull out of the tree. In my experience, you have to go retrieve it. You know, you have to untie it where you tied it at every single time. Whereas when I'm DRT, I can be over here and I'm going over here and I want to change my tying point. I just lanyard in, pull my rope out, go over another crotch, and I'm in. So to me, DRT is faster, but it may just be because I'm not as experienced with SRT. So if anybody's got some pointers other than what I just mentioned, I'm open to suggestions. So anyways, that's what's in this bag. Attached here to the back of my passenger seat is, I've got a Silky. This attaches to my saddle. I've got a couple extra prussics. This is my old friction saver. I really like this. I got it from Westburg. I have, you know, just another hitch climber system. This is the original DMM hitch climber. Got extra strap. I've got a rope wrench, which I rarely use. This is just stuff for SRT. I've got a foot ascender, and this is my makeshift knee ascender. It's just a piece of rope. Got an extra little pulley, a bunch of extra carabiners, steel rope snap. And yeah, so this is all right here. It's easily accessible to me if I need to get it quickly. So these are the other geckos that I was telling you guys about. I actually bought these Weaver pads because the pads were so worn out, and I got the double stick Velcro tape and did the inside, sanded it down and everything. And I just did that the other day, so I've yet to climb on these with the new pads. But yeah, they're pretty beat up, but this is, I would have to say, my favorite style of gecko with the red cuffs. So these are my backup spikes just in case. This is my favorite flip line, I would have to say. This is a Rope Logic steel core. This is my most used and my most secure flip line. This is the one I feel the safest on. I've had to replace the rope grab a couple times, but as you can see, it's in great condition. About 2.5 years old and not even nicked once. So that's a good sign. You know, knock on wood. But yeah, so That would be my favorite flip line. I just don't use it as often anymore. I use the rope lanyard a lot more now. So here we have the old school Weaver seat saddle. This never gets used. This was a bundle with some stuff that I bought off Facebook Marketplace. I just have it in here as a backup if I need it. I really dislike that style of saddle. In here I have just an extra lanyard. This is the recoil, long reach recoil, full reach. And then this is just a piece of, I don't even know what type of rope this is, but this was an extra lanyard for the saw. That's what I keep in here. All right, well, as far as gear goes, I would have to say that that's about it. And so anyways, I know that this was kind of like a longer video. If you guys stuck around until this point and you found this interesting, just let me know. You know, as I get more gear, I can do updated videos. And yeah, so hope everyone has a great day. Be safe, and I will see you guys next time.